Time means nothing.
Time is meaningless. It's irrelevant, right?
It's a big ball of wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey
stuff.
Welcome to Literary Lushes with your host, Samantha.
And Megan.
And today we are discussing the book Gravity's Heir by Sara Bond. And we are lucky enough to have Sara with us today. Welcome, Sara.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Thank you for joining us.
And for people like me, it's not heir as in A-I-R. It's heir like H-E-I-R.
Like heiress?
Yes.
Yeah, I realized that after I assigned the title that I had to explain that every single time I tell people to look up my book.
If you are a Patreon supporter, you get to see the interview on video with Sara. So that's exciting.
That is exciting.
And you also get to see, of course, Samantha and I.
Yes.
Rocking
for
it.
better or worse. And our drink for today that goes along with the book Gravity's Heir is called Gravitational Pull.
Yes.
And it is a bourbon whiskey based drink. Sara's modeling it for us. And it gets the author's stamp of approval. So there.
Ha! Yeah. I'm a big fan of whiskey, so that works.
Well, and it was in the book, which is why we went with the whiskey. I noticed, I think it was the first page. It was talking about wine and whiskey. I'm like, all right, I already know this is going good.
Lena's got trauma and a little bit of a drinking problem.
I mean, who doesn't in this day and age?
I mean,
you know.
What she goes through, I can see why.
Yeah.
I probably would have had a couple stiff drinks too.
Bless her heart.
Yeah. It's a warranted vice, it's not just
yeah.
And she has healthy habits. She runs on a treadmill. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was very funny because I recently got into running and I'm like, I have to run outside because running on a treadmill, I can't do it. It's boring because I'm not running anywhere. And then in the book, she says, I don't understand people who run outside because they're running to somewhere. Whereas when you're on a treadmill, you just run from yourself or something.
And I'm a treadmill runner. I prefer to be on a treadmill than outside. And mostly that's because I'm always scared that I'll get to a point where I'm too tired to make it back to the starting point.
That's why you're running a loop. You don't just keep running.
But even halfway through the loop, if you're getting tired, oh man, I overshot this. Today's a rough day.
Drag yourself home. And call someone to pick you up.
Yeah.
I hate running. I just hate it. I hate everything about it.
I'll enjoyed it, Sara.
I'll climb, I'll hike. I will not run unless someone is chasing me. And then they'll probably catch me because I'm not in practice.
Sometimes I pretend. Sometimes I'm like that person who's walking very slowly behind you, who's an 80-year-old woman. She might be coming to get you, so you better run faster.
No, I'm I'm a walker, occasionally jogger. I'm working on getting back up to it. But yeah, for the most part, it's still walking. But anyways.
Okay, you get there.
Yes.
Speaking of alcohol, and I put this on my notes. I was going to say, I don't know if you put it on your notes too.
But my Post-it note.
Your Post-it note. One of the first things I wrote down was your reference to the Dornish red wine. And I was like, I bet Sara's a Game of Thrones fan.
Well, when I was writing it, yeah, it was everyone was watching it and I was a little obsessed. I read all of the books when I was breastfeeding my youngest son.
Nice.
So, you got the Kindle and it's pitch black in the room. You don't want to wake up the baby. So I read all of Game of Thrones.
Wow. That's no small feat.
Now I don't know if I'll read the last one because it's been so long.
It did take a while.
I know. I did read all of them and I read them all back to back.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And then they all start to blur together and you're like, for the love of all things holy, I don't need a 10-minute description on what this house looks like. Please.
I don't even know who's still alive at this point. It's people died in the show, people died in the books, and I don't know who's who anymore.
And I also liked how you didn't truly know if, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing it wrong, Ceto?
I call him Setomir.
Setomir. That makes sense. If he was actually involved in the assassination plot, or if he was just kind of dragged into it from his brother, and you never truly find out, which is kind of
I like it. I
Yeah.
like the little.
I think he probably would have been involved if he had had more of an opportunity. They're all pretty revolutionary on that moon.
Yes, definitely. So I have to know, Sarah, where did you get the inspiration for the book? Because it's such a cool concept.
Oh, thank you. Well, I wanted to write a Firefly-esque ensemble story.
Told you.
She's like, it's so Firefly.
It was definitely starting as a Firefly fanfic sort of thing. But then I'm like, okay, I need to distinguish it. So I do want a war, but I don't want the Civil War. So, because that's what Firefly was based around. Yep. So I was like, okay, well, World War II is done to death. So let's go with World War I.
So in the book, there is some mob, not mentality, but mob influence there. And it was there's the I wrote Black Hand because which was an actual Italian extortion mob back in the day. And I was wondering if that's where you drew inspiration from with their name and kind of what they were doing, or if you just was like, hey, that kind of sounds cool.
Absolutely. It was absolutely based on the Black Hand, but more of their influence in Austria when the assassination of Gabriel Gustavo assassinated the Franz Ferdinand, and he was a member of that organization. And they planned the assassination that launched all of World War I. So that's where Dominic de Moncos, the guy who gets assassinated in the opening chapters, that's where he came from, because it was Franz Ferdinand and playing with that. But it was absolutely based on the Black Hand, and I read so many brilliant things about that. And I don't remember any of them now because I wrote this book like 6 years ago for the first time.
But that's like I don't know, like, not that like assassinations and the mob are like fun, but that's like the fun part of history that you don't always learn about in school. So it must have been cool to research kind of some of that stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And when you read about everything that was happening then, the Black Hand actually becomes very sympathetic. And it was a whole bunch of not these organized mobster kind of guys. It was, college students who were idealistic about what they wanted their world to look like. And they just got fed up and started taking things into their own hands and, engaging in terrorism, like you do.
As one does.
That's kind of what I wanted to play with. I mean, this revolutionary group, they have nothing left to lose. They do create these huge acts of terrorism, and yet they're supposed to be kind of the good guys in this. They kind of get what's coming to them when they start a revolution. People die and people get hurt. But I think they're very sympathetic because they do want something better. Their means are not necessarily condonable, but I don't think they had any other choice. And that's a lot of what happened in World War I too. And a lot of people didn't have choice.
And a lot of the characters even knew and even said, like, we knew what was coming. We signed up for this. Like, they're like, oh, but you hurt. And they're like, no, they knew what this all meant. Like, no one was under the illusion that, like, we weren't going to have casualties. Like, everybody, this was the price that we were all willing to pay.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I think they even said that, like, that's the price they were all willing. Something like that was a phrase in there. And I was like, dang, that's some hardcore stuff when you write.
Yeah, I thought you did a good job though with that, because when they're in that like underground bunker and shit's hitting the fan, and it's like, yes, they all signed up for it. They knew that there was going to be casualties, but then when their own wounded and dying start coming in and it all kind of hits them, I thought you did a really good job of striking that balance between what they were expecting, but then the reality of what they were expecting, it was a little bit different than what actually was happening. And it was kind of heartbreaking to even just read and like try to put yourself in that mentality. Like, would I be willing to like kill my loved ones and neighbors and friends and colleagues for my freedom? Like, probably, but thankfully I've never been in that situation,
Yeah, I think people do desperate things when they're put in desperate situations. And oh gosh, that one character who dies in that scene.
I was thinking, it's not Deej. Is it Deej?
Dejan, yeah.
Yes, I was close. Look at me, see? And I said I get the first couple of letters, and then I'm like, and it starts to roll away. But anyway.
They're Serbian names, so that's what I was playing with there. But oh God, every time I edited that chapter or worked on it, I would just start sobbing. I was working at a like writing in a bar and just crying to myself, and people are just staring going, what is going on over there?
And you're like, I'm self-torturing. I'm doing this to myself.
Making myself cry.
Oh my gosh, it's such a powerful scene. It was very sad. Just
and
powerful.
you only meet him for that one chapter too, and it's like,
Yeah,
sorry.
And he leaves such an impact.
Yeah, he was like, don't leave me. And she's like, but I'm gonna go help. He's like, it's too late. I just don't want to be alone. And then so she stays, and she even stays after he passes because she's like, he doesn't want to be alone. Like, he asked me to stay, so I'm staying. And I was like, dang.
Well, it's echoes of her own trauma of what she went through with all those people who died because of something she did. It's like she couldn't be with them. She couldn't be with her sister when she died. And so she's like, I'm not leaving this guy.
Which
was another thing I tried to fathom, which obviously, like, I've never been to space, so I can never, I don't have that.
It's cool. The idea of space is cool. Like, and I love all this sci-fi stuff with the ships and their outer space and all these colonies and everybody traveling. But then I talked to Ray and I'm like, I would never go into space.
It's terrifying.
No.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'm like, that is the scariest thing. Like, we just watched it the other day and they were in space. And I'm like, nope. Couldn't get me to
horrifying.
Do it. Like, nope. And my husband's like, sign me up, I'll go to Mars. I'm like, no, you're not. I'm like, our children will never go to Mars either. They're staying on this earth till the earth burns. Unless it is like the last chance of survival. Like, you literally could not survive another month.
That's when you when you send a Bob from the Bobiverse out to find a habitable planet. And you just call
But even then, just the idea of getting into like a shuttle and like knowing that just like a little puncture in one little thing can suck all your air out. I'm like, nope, ain't doing it.
Don't worry, you freeze to death first.
Yeah, you won't feel a thing.
Nope. That just nope. So anyways, I interrupted. You said it was real cool about, you couldn't fathom.
Oh,
sorry,
yeah, like I couldn't fathom because I've never been to space, but you know, when they have the, you know, when they're trying to escape from I forget the Pyrenees like ship, and they blow up and a couple of the soldiers are affected and she sees them floating in front of her, and she has flashbacks to what happened at her home planet with her sister and everything, and she's, you know, reflecting on like watching their bodies, and she was like, well, at least they're not on fire this time. And I'm like, oh my god.
and then she was like, wait, or were they? And like, she had to like think about it. And I'm like, good Lord, you've seen enough of those floating bodies from your spaceship that you have to distinguish which of that was on fire and which one wasn't.
She's got a little PTSD. Yeah. Poor Lena.
I'm like, you go ahead and drink your whiskey, Chica. I think you deserve it.
Oh my goodness.
It makes it sound so dark. I forgot how dark this book was.
But there's a lot of levity too. There's a lot of levity.
There's still parts that I laughed and I had good times.
And also she has a really good support system, which is actually flows perfectly with my next notes.
Oh, look at that. We're doing so good.
I'm crushing it. I love a strong female lead.
Sorry.
Like Lena. And I also love when she has strong male characters
who back her.
Yeah. And like, you know, accept her for who she is, more or less. So like, I loved her relationship with Gail, and then conversely with Rains, because they both supported her. But you did such a good job of kind of defining the differences in their relationship, you know, with how Gail loves like who she could be.
I was gonna say that was right after the sex scene. Spoiler alert. She's like, I did this because I for a moment just wanted to be with someone who saw me for what I could be, but really it's Rains that I have to go back to because he sees me for what I am and accepts me for that and isn't trying to make me want to be like a completely better person. And I'm like, I get that. I'm like, I was team him. I like when
team Rains.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. And when she was with Gail, I was like, aw, really?
You do feel for the guy though.
I know. I'm like, he's a nice guy and I get it. And I should really want to root for the nice guy, but I was all about...
They're both nice guys.
I know, but I felt like... I think at one point we were talking about, I'm like, Rains just seems more ruggedly, like, again, like Mal, just got that little bit of edge on him.
Oh, yeah. He used to be, in the first drafts of the book, he was such an asshole. I had to bring him back because I'm like, I actually like him, but he's kind of a jerk. So let's scale this back. It's gentle ribbing, and he challenges Lena in a way. Whereas Gael he is obsessed with her. He idealizes her. It's like he has this conception of her on a pedestal, and she's not that. She wants to be, but she's a little too broken for that. So yeah, I love that y'all picked that up.
Yeah, I mean,
the bad news is Gael's based on my husband. And she doesn't end up with
I was
him.
like, my husband's a nice guy, and here I'm going for the guy who's all like.
I justify it as I'm not as much of a bitch as Lena.
That's a good point.
I know there were some
I'm
things that she
challenging.
did. Whew, I was like, girl, what? I mean, I know you're broken, but what is going through your head?
She's got trauma. I mean, she's gonna lash out. She's gonna act in really bad ways. She makes some terrible decisions, but she's also trying her best. So
Listen, spoil alert a little for anybody who hasn't read it, but the ending, I was just like,
Oh yeah.
I was like, my God, girl, like you need to just get on a ship and just go to like that island you were talking about, that world where you don't know anybody, no one knows you, and you just need to stay there in your own little island. Like just forget everybody and just sit there and just not trust anyone and just like have your own bubble and be like, stay away from me. Because I feel like that's where you're going to be safest, because the betrayal in her life, my God, I felt
But even with all that betrayal, she still fought for her crewmates, which I thought spoke volumes.
I did, yes. And I think
I don't know if I ever wrote a sequel to this, and that's tied up with publishing issues and such. But if I wrote a sequel, I don't know what I would do with her. Like, I don't know if she would sell out and totally sell the plans for the gravity bomb and just go, you guys deal with the fallout. I have nothing to do with it. I've earned my rest, and just sell out to the highest bidder and go to that private island, or try to do what's right. And I don't know what the right thing is either. So
I did like that it was a challenge. Like even I was like, I wouldn't know who I would. I was like, this is like a tough choice. It's not an easy black or white, person to give it to. It's like, well, this person has, and I mean, so it felt real like, very lifelike, that you would never, like, everybody has their own agendas, and you're like, well, which one's the lesser of the evils? And you're like, well, at this point, I'd rather just keep it to myself. Maybe somebody better will pop up, and then who's say they don't have a secret agenda, and then you start getting into this conspiracy crap and all that. Like, but it was pretty intense, and I liked it. And I liked how some people you thought were going to betray or had like weird hidden motives had good hidden motives.
Like Chandra.
I was actually thinking of Pierce Mason.
Oh, Pierce Mason. That him too.
like, Grayson, yeah.
And I was just like, okay, you're gonna do something. This seems real sketch. And then you find out later, you're like, no, he was like really like, listen, you're the only person I'm trusting you.
Well, and at the same time, his motives are mixed too, because he's wanting to hand it over to this obviously terrorist group. They blow up their own moon. They kill all these people. They start a revolution. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they're the good guys either.
But I also wonder if he secretly knew, because he says, I know you very well. And so I wonder if he knew she would look into it and figure things out, and then he would put it in her hands on who to really give it to.
I like to think so, yeah.
Yeah, because he even kept repeating, like, I know you so well. And she was like, we know each other. We go back, and like, he knows everything. And it's like, when you know someone, you know them. And so he probably knew that she would look into it, even though he's like, don't open it. You won't understand what it is anyways. Like, that's like, don't push the red button, Megan. And
which she didn't, to be fair though, she didn't open it for quite some time.
Well, first she wanted to, just get rid of it and burn it and whatever. But so I think in my mind, I like to think he knew her to the point where he knew she would figure it out. And she would decide on who was best, because he knew his judgment was clouded based on things that he's done to make it
get to that point.
Yeah.
Well, that's also how Gael and Rains look at her too. It's like, we know her heart is good. We know she's going to work through this and find the right decision. So they do trust her in a lot of ways. She'll mess up, obviously, but they know where her heart is. So I like that that's true of a lot of the people who know her really well. She's a screw up. She's a mess, but she's good.
Yes.
And that's like a lot of people.
Yeah.
True story. Yeah. We all deal with our own shit and stumble, but we figure it out usually, eventually.
And we hope that the
Totally.
people who know us and love us have our back and think that we'll make the right choices. And we'll
Thank
have
God it's
Absolutely.
not with like an atomic weapon, though. I don't think I can handle that pressure.
Yeah, that pressure is too much for me.
I don't want that pressure.
No.
I can't even hold the pressure of not telling you what I got you for Christmas. Like that like hurts.
Oh,
And that's
God.
just
I don't. We're gonna change the subject so you don't accidentally blurt it
I'm
out.
like, oh my God, wait till you see what I got you.
I'm sure you're gonna have a lot to say on this one,
Oh
but
God. I'm like
I
trying not to.
I
like, over-
wanted to ask you, Sarah, about Evan
Yes.
and just okay.
I'm gonna sip my tea.
You're
It's really my Coke Zero, but you know,
he like I want to say I wish I was surprised, but I wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, because you wrote him so well that I'm like, he's just this like smarmy butthole of an ex-boyfriend who is just trying to like use her to get ahead. And like, I really, really hope she doesn't fall for it. And like the whole time she's kind of teeter-tottering between like, will she or won't she? And I'm like, oh God, please no, please no. And then when she gets those like voicemails from him and then she finds out that he recorded just like a bunch of different ones to fit any situation, I'm like, this mother effer, like he is such a butthole. So good job writing Evan, because he infuriated me every time like there was an interaction with him. I'm like, not this guy again.
when I got to the beginning of Evan, he actually originally I imagined the doctor from Firefly. Like that's
Simon.
Yes, that's who I imagined originally. Huh. And then as he started to change, like but in instant, like if you've ever seen Frozen, I immediately thought of Han or him.
Yeah.
Like I immediately, so before he even got to like his true form, I'm like, this guy seems a lot like he's got no, you're Hans. Like you're bad. Like before I even got, I'm like, I feel like you're like him. I have this feeling. I don't know why, but I'm like, maybe because I like the other guys, but I don't like you. And then
and everyone should have had warning bells. I mean, this is supposedly her fiance who she didn't see immediately after what she went through. She hadn't spoken to him in 10 years and he shows up when the shit hits the fan. I mean, he's not
good. For the enemy also.
There was something else I was gonna say and I already forgot. No, that was on me. I was like, Evan, he did something.
He did so many things.
He did so many things. And I just, but you know what? I loved hating him.
Oh, good.
Oh, that's what it was. Every time she kept teetering, I'm like, oh, but no, you've grown so much. Don't fall back, because I could understand how she knows how things are now. And she was with him when things were good and simple and they were easy. Like, she was partying and out doing this, but it was easy, and it was easy to be naive. And it was easy to have that. And I can see especially because she knows what she has with the plans and like her crew members are, and I can see how that would be alluring to be like, just come with me. I'll fix everything. It'll be like it was before. Like that could be very tempting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's an anchor when she's adrift. So he's something that can anchor her down. And he's like, I'll take it off your hands. I'll fix this. And he's just comfortable. And when she's going through so much turmoil, that's what happens in those sort of relationships, those toxic relationships. You really do go back in because you're like, okay, at least I know you. At least I'm comfortable with you. At least I felt safe with you, even though it's all an illusion because he's familiar.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
When I worked with domestic women, that's exactly what it was. It was, well, I remember we had good times and things are really tough right now and I really want that back. And I'm like, okay, but like, were they really good or were you like thinking they were good?
Glasses,
And then he even is like, oh, I thought you knew. And I'm like, did you though? Did you? Did you really? Because I don't think you did. And then him leaving stuff out and she's even like, you left this out on purpose. Like, you don't think I'm going to. And I'm like, so if he set that up, what makes you think he didn't set up everything else? Like,
all of the time it was just fishy.
Ugh.
He's brilliant and manipulative as hell, and he knows how to work her.
Yep.
So I've been in those relationships before.
I think we all have.
Yeah.
That's how you learn when you found a good one, because you're like, oh, they're not like this other person from my past.
Yep.
Yeah, kind of thing. That also
Thank you for bringing that up, because I even have his name. Yeah, because I even have his name, but I just, your notes always help.
We always love talking about the evil men in stories, you know. It's just,
we love hating
it's
them.
So much fun to write too.
I could only imagine like just getting all my frustration out on all like the men who have wronged me. Like, you're all going into this one character.
I'm giving you the name Evan.
I say Evan is definitely a mix of like 6 guys I've dated over the years. It's just like, okay, yeah, here's some of this one and here's some of that one and all the gaslighting
and together you form one perfectly horrible human being.
I can't wait to hear who I casted for that, but anyways.
So that actually goes kind of into my next note, which was Lena's internal struggles with herself and her view of herself and her self-esteem, and is she making the right choice, which she kind of talked about, but also her struggles with trying to prove herself worthy to those around her, because she consistently recognizes the fact that she has this great support group, but she also consistently, at least when I was reading it, I felt like she consistently felt like she wasn't deserving of it because of that one mess up at her home planet, which you find out, spoiler alert, at the end probably was not actually, you know, her fault, and sent her whole life on this downward trajectory. And I love a good, complicated character, and I thought she was great because this whole time she's struggling with like, is she worthy enough for everything that she has, and what can she do to make herself feel
I think even at times I felt like she tested them to see how far she could push them before they would leave her. And then she was always surprised when they didn't. And then even at one point where she's like, you said you trusted me, but you had a backup plan. So did you really not trust me? And, you know, and it was like, yeah. And then he was like, listen, I had to, you know, but then she appreciated that, because she was like, oh, okay. So like, you do. And then later she questioned, like, so does he not trust me, or does he trust the plan? Like, and it was like, girl, calm down. They trust you. They wouldn't keep you here if they didn't.
They wouldn't let you pilot this ship if they didn't trust you.
Well, and that's Rains. Rains has a safety net. He doesn't think of it as a backup plan for when she inevitably fails, which is the way she frames it. He's just got a safety net under a safety net to catch her when she falls. It's like he's just looking out for everyone and trying to do the right thing and to make sure everything's okay. And then she's like, that feeds into her low self-esteem and her doubts, and I love that. I love their relationship, because he's not going to tell her that he's catching her, but he's totally her backup.
Because if he did say like, oh, I'm catching you and I love you and I'll support you, he'd probably just push her away, because that's
absolutely
what she needs, you know? Yeah, their relationship, the whole time I'm like, oh, come on, like, it's so tantalizing. It's like right there, like he's kissing her forehead. I want to know, like, does she feel the same way? Because at first I was like trying to figure out like if she felt the same way, or if she just thought he was being like a condescending like pilot.
Who are you?
Oh yeah, because I hate romance novels, and so usually
he hates any of the parts that like have to do, and that's why she's like, oh, come on, it's right there. And I'm like, wait, who are you?
Because in the beginning you don't know how she feels, and it's like, well, is he just being like a condescending man, like, you know, kissing her forehead and being like, good job? Or is there like some like genuine feelings? And then as the story progresses, you figure out that there are genuine feelings on both sides. I'm in shock.
You should take that as like a huge compliment.
I will definitely take that as a compliment.
Most of the time I'm like, ugh, romance.
She's like, can we skip this part and get to the blowing up stuff and the empowering part?
We don't need men. Come on.
Well, and that's kind of the way Lena feels about things. I mean, both of her sex scenes, they're not tender. She has an itch that needs to be scratched, and it might be an emotional itch, it might be a physical itch, but she needs them both in different ways, and she kind of uses them a little bit, but they both are okay with being of use to her.
I like how she told him before she had sex, she's like, so what are you expecting from this? Because this is what's really happening. And she's like, no, this is not me loving you. This is not me starting anything. This is just me being me, needing to
and that's a huge breakthrough for her too, being able to say, I know what I need right now, because the whole book, she has no idea what she needs and is just floundering about. And then when she gets to that, she's like, okay, this is what I need. Are you willing to give it to me? Are we good? Are there going to be complications out of this? And I'm sure there will be, but you know, they both get what they need in that moment.
Yeah. And that's what the sequel is for, when it's
that's right.
Publishing, you know.
Gravity's water.
Gravity's water.
Air.
Then we'll go with earth and fire too.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm so horrible.
Okay, I'm gonna pull up my cast list now.
I'm so excited.
I know this is
like one of our favorite things.
So I typically always cast, if it's like a female lead who I can identify with, I usually cast myself as the main character, because when I'm reading the book, I put myself in their place. So it's like I always pictured myself as Lena. But did you have anybody in mind?
I did, and I have this name down, and I'm like, who is this?
That's good.
I don't know. I could never cast anybody as Lena because she was so unique in my head.
Oh, she was the one who was
Yukio in Deadpool 2.
Hi, Yukio. Bye, Wade.
I've seen her in a couple of other things too, but she was really versatile in what I've seen her in. Like I've seen her being like goofy, silly, which I thought she would work to showing the, you know, when she was younger and with Evan and like whatever. And then I've seen her in other things where she was a little more serious. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. So yeah, she's mixed kind of Japanese and Greek.
Mm-hmm.
So I could never figure out who would play her, but I like that. I like that casting. I kind of thought,
that's my cast.
Oh, she was in, what's the movie with the kaiju and the robot monsters that fight them and drift compatible? What is that movie?
Oh my gosh. I know what you're talking about.
Pacific Rim.
Yes, Pacific Rim.
Oh, that's Ray's favorite. He would have definitely known that. He loved that movie.
I'm like, they get in the rigs and they fight and it says, but I can't remember what it's
called. No, Rinko Kikuchi, who plays Mako. That's one of the ones I pictured for her.
That's good. I like that one. All right. Who did you have for, I don't know, who do you want to go next? Or you just want to go down the list?
Yeah, you go.
Okay. So we pronounced it Gale, but we've been pronouncing his name wrong this whole time. So sorry.
No worries.
So I had two because I was really torn. Either Sebastian Stan, who plays Bucky, or Travis Fimmel, who played Ragnar in Vikings. And he was also in the World of Warcraft movie and some other things because this is like rugged, handsome.
And see, I wanted to go someone just a tad bit prettier than Sebastian Stan. Not as rugged because I felt like the rugged was Reigns. And so I wanted to go someone a little more pretty, but someone who also could hold their own and handle themselves. So I went with Jensen Ackles, who was in who was in Supernatural. He also voiced Under the Red Hood.
Yeah, but you don't see his face in that.
But he's got that voice that I feel like would, you know, but anyways, but I've seen him in like all 15 seasons of Supernatural and some other movies. So
I had Jensen Ackles for Reigns.
Really? Although he would have been a good one, but you'll see when I have I'll just say who my Reigns is because that's who's next on our list. I have Carl Urban.
And as soon as she said that, I was like, that's so good. Damn it.
Because he just tends to be a little more and rugged.
A little bit more rugged.
And just a tad bit more where Jensen has that, but he's still more pretty.
Yeah.
Whereas Carl has that more rough, rugged, but sexy, but
with a great accent.
Oh, with a great accent, which we had to.
Gotta have a good accent.
Yeah, you got it.
So I thought those were my two for that. So
I'm looking at my notes and I just swapped them. So Sebastian Stan and Travis Fimmel were actually who I had for Reigns. Just kidding.
Oh, I was like, that's why it's like Jensen Ackles is a little more prettier than Sebastian Stan.
It's been a long day.
I hope these actors eventually listen to this and we're describing who's prettier and who's more ruggedly handsome, and then they like battle it out because I would love to see that.
I would pay for that, yeah.
I'd pay for it.
For the one, I had Raul Coley, who was from iZombie.
Yes, was the one
Ralphie.
guy. Yes.
You have that for Gael?
Mm-hmm.
That would be perfect.
Yeah,
actually.
I think that's right. You said that, and I got mad that you picked him.
And I got mad that you picked Carl Urban for Reigns.
So I actually ended up putting. Him for Cito. I'm
Oh,
saying
yeah.
that wrong.
Sedamir, yeah.
That's who I know. Because when she said that, I was like, shit. And then I was like, oh, fine. I'm going to put him here then. If I can't have him there.
We're just going to cast him in this no matter what.
Yeah, he's just, you know,
He's
we're just
just
going to let
so
you
great.
read. And whatever part we can't really get someone really great, we're going to put you in that part because you're so great at things.
He would make a great Seto, actually. Or a Vaso, his brother.
That's what I was like. He would be so great. Anyways.
Because he's like,
Now, Gael, I actually had a model in mind, and he's mixed race, Black and Israeli. And he's gorgeous.
That sounds gorgeous.
I know. I know, imagining like the flawless complexion.
Yeah, and he has these
Dark.
startlingly blue eyes, and it's just like, oh.
Those Israeli blue eyes. Yes. Oh my.
All right. So
Hachi Machi.
who's
Okay.
next?
Woo!
I know. I'm like,
Um,
turn the air down.
So for Kat,
Oh, yeah, I didn't have anyone.
this is a very specific reference, and I actually had to show it to her because she had no idea what I was talking about.
Oh, yeah.
I go for Kat. I picture that one chick from the Peloton commercial. Where
Yes! That would work. That would
her
work
name
really
is
well.
Monica Ruiz, according to Google. So
The closest I could come up with someone, because for me, I imagined Kat. Actually, it was Firefly. I was reminded of the actress who plays Kaylee.
Jewel State, yes.
Was my main person, but I'm like, right now she would be too old. Like, I imagine someone who is
Yeah, but,
younger,
yeah,
like
old
in
doesn't
their
matter.
like young 20s, kind of being like someone who, you know, wasn't forceful about things and naive. But yeah, Kaylee would probably be the person Jules, I would cast for that, because I felt like she could be naive enough, but also like screaming and yelling out of random spots, like, holy crap, what the heck is going on? Like, oh my God.
loud noises.
Yeah. So that's who I casted for that.
Oh, I like that. That would actually work really well. She's like startlingly competent and good at her job, but not prepared at all for political intrigue and wars and stuff.
Like, this is not in my job description. Please no.
Just hide me in this shuttle. I'll stay here. I'll stay here.
I thought there were fish in the crates. What? There were guns? They told me not to open it because it would kill the fish. I'm like, you ain't got scanners?
Like, you didn't like think
You
to
have
check
scanner
before
metal
you
detector or
like,
something.
She's trusting. It's
You didn't
fine.
all fishy. Like, what?
It has to be temperature controlled because they're going across the star system. It's fine.
That's why I was like, oh, Kaylee would totally be trusting
Oh my
like
gosh.
that.
Yeah, just sign for it. It's all right.
Just, take people's word for it. Absolutely. It's like, I read that scene. I'm like, oh, you sweet summer
I
child.
was like, that's why I was like, she's got to be younger than 30. She has to be
I
younger
don't
than 30.
know.
in my
I've met a
mind.
lot of really naive older people.
But I feel like if you're in space and you're on like a spaceship with that crew that's on there, I feel like after a while you either get jaded or you start to learn real quick how the system
She learned real quick.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So now she goes into her 30s going, I get it now. Nope.
Yep. Things have been safe for her up until this point. She's just been doing a little light smuggling, and it's fine.
Like mild treason, you know, like no
It's,
big deal.
it's like illegally downloading
Yeah.
music off
Like
Napster.
Napster,
It's no real harm.
Nobody's hurt by it. It's fine.
Yeah, no big deal. Oh, Kat, she was a good character. I always felt bad for her. I was like, she's just
like,
her head's
aw.
gonna explode. Yeah,
Like, poor
poor
baby.
thing. Poor thing.
I love that she and Lena just maintain a positive relationship through the whole thing. They're supportive. They like each other. They're not competitive.
No,
They just understand each other.
yes.
Which leads us into our next character, who she was super not liking.
Which I don't, Chandra, I don't blame her. Like, if I found out that I had to smuggle like highly sensitive information, and that, oh, by the way, like my love interest just happened to hire this like super sexy mercenary who's supporting us because we paid the highest price, I would be nervous too.
And didn't consult you.
Yeah.
That was shady. That was not good on his part. He should have asked her permission and brought it on in a good way. But no, he knew what was happening around them. So he's like, he had to put a safety net under her.
I feel like also, like my husband kind of might have done something like that. Just the fact knowing, like, oh no, you would take one look at her and just completely veto this. And this is like somebody who came highly recommended, and I am not looking at them. I am looking at their resume. Like
Exactly.
I can see Ray being like, I'm going to hire this chick.
She's the most qualified nanny we've interviewed.
And then I'm like looking at her and I'll be like, oh, hell no, you ain't.
Wait, I thought you didn't like romances. I've read that book.
Yeah.
So anyways, who did you cast?
I had Gina Carano, who plays Kara from The Mandalorian.
Yeah. I can see that.
I went with Michelle Rodriguez because everything I've seen her in, she's always like this badass with guns.
She's badass.
Yep. I picture Padma Lakshmi.
Oh, yeah.
Just like in an action role.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the visual I have. I want to.
I would watch that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd watch that. I get down with that. I know. I did. Chandra was such a great character too.
I did like.
She just like opens up like a beautiful flower.
Oh, I'm like, she's like, yeah, I'm like, I want to know more about you. And then as she gets on, and then she's like talking to the one guy, and then she like later she's like, well, someone's got to take the fall for something. Would you rather be you or him? This like guy you've never met who is like this green dum-dum, or do you want it to be you and your crew? Oh, okay, that's what I thought.
Like
she gets shit done.
Yeah. And her and Kat support each other, which is exactly what Kat needs, I think. And probably what
I want to write a little romance story about them. Just like a little short story about them being sweet together.
I like how she also has her morals and she sticks to them. Like she's like, no, when I have a job, like I complete it to the full capacity and like I'm here as this. Doesn't matter how much money someone else offers me or this or that. Like I am here for this.
Yep.
And I was like,
that's her code.
Yep. It's very.
It is the way.
This is the way.
I love that you brought up The Mandalorian because it does seem like that a lot.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's why. Okay.
Evan. I had like so many people and I kept being like, that's not quite right. That's not quite right. And I'm pretty happy with this, my choice. Bill Skarsgård, who played Pennywise from the new It. He was in the new one of the new X-Men movies. He pops up in a lot of random stuff. He was Off Road.
I feel like I looked him up already, and because I was like,
he just has that like creepy look about him, and he's such a good actor, and he's played such a wide variety of roles that I feel like he could really do Evan justice, where he's trying to be that like lovey-dovey over the top, but then like turns to be like, Lena, like don't screw me over like this.
You think Green Lantern? Who was he in Green Lantern? Anyways, so
I don't know if he was in Green Lantern. So
stay with me on this one because like what? And then I have a good explanation for this. Ryan Reynolds.
Speaking of Green Lantern.
Yeah. Ironically. Because I've seen him in like Van
Wilder.
Wilder.
Like, complete like all of a sudden like a douchiness. Like I've seen him like be, and I think I've even seen him in a like horror. Amityville Horror. I cannot pronounce that.
Nailing it.
I know, right? say it right for me.
Amityville Horror?
That one.
Okay.
And where he's like a complete scary dude who is now going to kill his family. So I was imagining someone who's trying to be sweet and, like, oh, I love you. And like, this is all romantic, like, and just friends. And then all of a sudden you switch to this horror movie where he's like wanting to like murder you. And so that's why I picked him, because you look at him and you're just like, oh, but he's deathless. And like, I could imagine him also being kind of nerdy and like wearing like a science coat and being like, and
that inspires like Chris Evans, who, he does Captain America and he's just like this Boy Scout. And then you see him in Knives Out and you're like, oh my God, he is a psychopath.
But he looks great in that sweater.
Yes.
So good in that sweater. So now I kind of have a cross between, he's always been ex-boyfriends in my head, depending on the scene. But now I've got Ryan Reynolds and Chris Evans, and that's a good movie.
It's like those like those children's books where it's like split into three and it's like the head, the body, and the legs.
Yeah.
And like
kind of you're like, I'm gonna put this in here.
That's really funny. Okay. So for Sato, I know you already said that you picked Raul. I kind of pictured Michael B. Jordan.
Oh, I could see him as Gael. He's cute.
Pierce Mason.
I didn't write someone down, but I know I want someone for this.
I put Tom Felton, who played Draco Malfoy.
Oh, I would say I can only picture Tom Felton as Draco, so it's a little too weaselly for Pierce, whereas Pierce to me is sort of like swaggering, and he came from money, so he's kind of a dick about things, but he's also, does the right thing.
Which is why I was like, okay, Draco, because Draco kind of rubs it in that he comes from an affluent family, and then he like kind of does the right thing at the end.
He gets backed into it.
Like, when he's left with like no other option, he kind of figures it out.
Benedict Cumberbatch, I think, is who I was thinking of.
I always think of the
I just feel like he
joke
could
with that. Sorry.
I just love that we're going British.
That would be another good one.
Leonardo would be too old though.
Listen, they can do CGI. Oh no! You know who I want?
Who do you want?
You know who I want?
Who do you want?
I want my boyfriend, Zac Efron.
That would actually work really well.
Wait, but like her and Zac Efron, where he's like super swole.
Yes, of course. You can't have like High School Musical. No one likes High School Musical with Zac Efron. Like no one. Like I remember everybody being in love with him then, and I was like, "What is wrong with you?"
Okay, there's
Bieber
definitely like another Zac Efron in between High School Musical Zac Efron and like
Baywatch.
Okay,
it's Baywatch. And Baywatch is where I was like, "Oh, hello, who are you, Zac Efron? You are not the Zac Efron I remember people being in love with." Hi,
Zac Efron.
Oh my god.
You know who I can picture too? Edward Pattinson. When he got in,
you were thinking of.
You're right. That is who I was thinking.
Yes.
Of. See,
when he got into the serious roles and started being a serious actor, I can see him pulling it off.
Because we were talking, and she's like, "I'm trying." She was like, "I think I was." I think she even resorted to Googling like douchebag male actors or something like that. But like, the results are actors who are actually like not nice in real life.
And I'm like, no, that's not what I want.
I'm trying to figure out a guy who looks like one.
I want a douchebag type, not an actual douchebag.
Yeah. And we were like, well, what about Robert Pattinson? She's like, yeah, but like, I don't know. And she's like, but somebody like him. That was like her inspiration.
I like it.
So we were on the same page there.
We were.
Okay.
See, this is my favorite part. Seriously, like this is just casting.
Because it's funny because everybody pictures something different,
It's so like
it's always interesting to see how people, Okay, now for one of the most pivotal characters, Lena's dad, Tadashi Lemansky.
Yours is really good. I was a little mad that I picked mine and then you picked yours. But I picked George Takei.
You wrote Daddy.
The dad. I wrote Daddy because I was like, what was his name again? But George Takei is who I had. But then your answer was way better, and then I was mad. So you can.
Yeah. So I picked Ken. I'm probably gonna butcher his last name. Ken Watanabe.
Watanabe. Oh.
So bad. I'm so
white. I
Oh man, I feel bad about being attracted to the dad now.
So sorry, did we leave any important characters out?
I mean, there are lots of side characters, but I know I like that whole casting list.
Casting is always fun.
It is always so fun.
And we're always like, how far down the rabbit hole do we go? Like, do we do every single minor character? We might be here for like years if we start doing that. Let's hit like the high notes,
Although you do have to have someone significant and able to carry off a really good scene for Dejan. Because he's only there for that one scene and it has to be pitch perfect.
Just absolutely heart-wrenching. Yes. I don't know why
Tom Holland.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Yeah, see, there we go.
You know why? No. You know why? Because that one scene, scene with him and Tony Stark.
Why do you want to kill Tom Holland?
You know who would be good for a potential Evan is Taron Egerton.
I know that. Oh, that's the hottie, the British hottie.
The British hottie, yes. He was in Kingsman and he was in the Elton John movie. He played Elton John.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he would be so good.
He's got that like swagger and he's like handsome.
Oh, I would be all about that too. I could see me wanting to go back to that just because, and then being like,
The accent again.
Gotta have the accent.
basically this, like, I don't know, but we now made it like 20
like
degrees
hot
hotter
all
in
of a
this
sudden.
season.
Okay. So I know, Sarah, you said that a potential sequel is like tied up in publishing. Do you hope one day to maybe do a sequel?
Possibly. I'm working on something completely different right now. It's a Southern Gothic romance, sort of Rebecca or Jane Eyre meets Flannery O'Connor and William Faulkner.
Very cool.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of haunting and terrible people and possible romance that might go horribly, horribly wrong.
See, that's my kind of romance.
And a plantation home that holds a lot of secrets.
Nice.
So it's a lot of fun. But I don't know, I can get my rights back to my book in the next year. I guess I have 7 months that they revert back to me. So I may do an audiobook release and then start thinking about a sequel.
Very
That's
cool.
exciting.
So I have ideas and I had people ask me about it. So
you leave it
there
on
might
such
be
a
interest.
good note. I'm like,
I
I have
know.
to know what she does.
I'm like, I feel like we can go somewhere with
I
this.
know. But then
I
you
just
have to
don't know
figure
what
out-
the right decision is. She's going to screw it up in some way, I'm sure, but she's in a better place. So I run a little blog pairing cocktails and book reviews. And sometimes they're classic cocktails, sometimes they're custom cocktails, but you can find them all at my website, saratbond.com. And it's under the blog section, and I review all sorts of things. Classic literature, science fiction, fantasy, romance. I'm about to put up my first YA interview or review on there. So it's all sorts of fun stuff.
So for our fans, it's really right up their alley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I've
awesome.
even had some of my custom cocktails appear in sequels to the books that I've reviewed. So that's a lot of fun.
That's pretty cool.
Now I have a question for the first young adult. Did you do an adult beverage?
I struggled with that. I did do an adult beverage with it because I'm an adult and I know a lot of adults read YA, but it's not appropriate for the young readers. So
Yes.
I like how you pointed at me too. Like, we're not like, yeah, that's my wheelhouse.
Yeah, we did. We actually got an advanced copy of Marissa Meyer's new book, Instant Karma, back in the fall, and we interviewed her and we were like, okay, this is a young adult book. We need to do like something that could be a mocktail. So we ended up doing like a twist on an adult Shirley Temple, and then obviously the mocktail would just be
A regular
a Shirley Temple, which is delicious either way. But yeah, we struggled with the same thing.
And then we had to be like, if you're not of age, don't do this.
Don't put vodka in your drink.
I had to do that I did a book launch with a friend, and she asked for custom Nutella cocktails because Nutella plays a big role in her book. It's Lainey Cameron's The Exit Strategy. And so we did a Nutella martini and then a Nutella milkshake for the non-alcoholic.
And then
And you can add vodka.
Yeah, exactly. You could easily make a milkshake. Ooh. Well, I'm going to have to check out your website if I'm struggling for some inspiration.
Please do. I'm a little behind right now. I have an entire shelf of books that I've read and I have reviews, but I haven't made the cocktails for yet. So I have to get those up.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming on and joining us and putting up with some of our quirkiness, especially mine.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, this has been delightful. So thank you so much for including me. And I loved the cocktail. I finished it.
So we want to thank Sara again for joining us. It was super fun.
I had a lot of fun. You said fun already. I guess I need to come up with another word for fun.
It was Megan-tastic and sensational. We're bringing those back. We haven't used those in a
I do need to bring that back, and we need to make like shirts with those on there.
Yeah. Hashtag Megan-tastic and sensational.
Now on to our Conscious Corner.
Yes, our Conscious Corner. So Mike and I went to a wedding this past weekend, and it was a COVID-safe wedding. So everybody in the wedding party took the rapid COVID test, and all the guests were masks, and it was fun, but obviously kind of weird because COVID. So Megan and I decided, in light of the current COVID climate and the fact that the cases are rising, we just wanted to reiterate to be safe around the holidays. We know Hanukkah, Christmas, and New Year's are coming up. We already did Thanksgiving, so be safe.
Be safe. Hang in there a little longer. We'll all be able to have big groups again soon, I'm sure.
Sacrifices now so we could party later.
Our next book is going to be Krampus.
Yes. Oh, you want me to keep going with
Yeah,
that? Okay.
I just know his last name is Brom.
It's literally just Brom. B-R-O-M.
Just kidding.
Yep.
That's why I didn't say his name. I was like, I don't know what the other half of the name is.
He is an artist. So you can listen to it on like an audiobook, but if you get the print version, there should be like some cool illustrations mixed in there as well. And spoiler alert, it's about Krampus.
Which is exciting, and that'll air on Christmas Eve, December 24th. So that's kind of cool.
That is pretty cool.
That it lined up like that.
We planned it that way.
Yes, we did.
Mm-hmm.
And we're hoping to have a couple of more videos to come out this holiday season, including us making cookies.
And us tasting a delicious turkey dinner.
Yes, that's
made
nice.
entirely of candy corn. Because I was finally able to track those down on the eBay.
We have to do that. Yeah, so we have like quite a few things coming up. And
the cheese ball challenge and the gift exchange video. Oh my god, we have so many
we have
things
so
to do.
many things to do.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna be bombarded with videos here soon.
You might
Which is
see us
exciting.
projectile vomit. So woo!
It's
check
always
it
a
out.
good time.
Yeah.
I have to submit some of our videos to Fail Army because there really are some of them
Like
that
when
are
you
classic.
got smacked in the face with a wine bottle.
And when you fell off the tree when you were trying to jump into the water and you about broke your arm, it looked like you like hung your arm when we went kayaking.
Oh yeah, we didn't post that one yet.
We posted the video. We didn't post any of the pictures.
Oh, no.
We posted the video.
So
So
the 5K where I fell over.
Yeah.
We didn't do that one yet either.
that one has not been posted yet. No,
No.
I
So
can't get
many.
the thing out of the GoPro.
We're struggling. Please send help. You can support us on Patreon.
Yes.
Seamless transition.
Also, we do have a merch store up on our website now. Also, I'm sure you can find it in a lot of different places, like on links of our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever else
So
we are.
social medias.
Yep. We have shirts, we have cups, we have shot glasses, we have aprons, we have a lot of goodies with the 3 different holiday logos. We have a Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, and Merry Christmas. And then, of course, our traditional regular literary lushes. So
And one day we'll get a stirring knife.
I don't know if they sell that, but I really want somehow this to be it. Maybe we'll do like a giveaway for someone with an engraved knife that says stirring knife literary lushes. Let us know if it's something you would like to have.
I want one.
So anyways, with that, we say, stay lively with your libations.